Hello everyone. So now that the update is in the stores, this is going to be a demo video of the additional features that have been released so far. And we're going to just use a cylinder. And also I'm going to introduce you with the free add-on that I made using the V-Cube add-on. And that's going to let you use the add volumetric cube operator in the add menu and in the mesh submenu. So this basically adds a cube with a volumetric shader on it. It's pretty basic, but really easy to set up. This adds itself on the position of the 3D cursor, much like the other 3D objects or objects in Blender. And you can move it around using the location parameters, scale it, rotate it, and then there's the uniform size, which is different from scale, and density of the volume, anisotropy, emission strength, and color. So this is just the basic. I'm going to probably add more stuff to this in the future. And when you press OK, get this. You can still edit this after pressing OK. You can still edit it using the F9 hotkey. You can edit the scale here. When this menu disappears, just press F9 to bring it back. And you can of course manipulate density and the other settings of the volume, principal volume shader here, or you can just go into the materials tab and or shaders, I mean shader editor, and edit the settings from here. Yeah. And this is what it looks like. So just a quick way of setting it up. Instead of just you um, adding a cube, going to the display, viewer display, setting this as either a bound or solid. Let's just use wire, and creating a material, deleting this, going to the shader, and then using principled volume or scatter and absorption. I'll probably in the future I'll probably let you choose between, I think, scatter or the principal volume. But for now, we're just going to use the principal volume. So all those steps are in just one button. And it's really good for quick renders. Okay, let's go to our model. And I'm going to start with 64 vertices to just give this more edge loops, and thereby like start with a smoother arc than what you would actually be doing with a lower number of vertices. So this is more resolution. So the arc is actually smoother of the circle. That will also reflect in the randomization. Okay, where are we? It's Y3. Okay. Pressing 3 the numpad to go to the side view. One is front, one is front. Shift one. No. One is front. Control one. Yeah, I think control one is back. One is front. Control one is back. Three is. I think three is left or right. And then control 3 is the other side, negative x. So negative x is the right, from us and positive x is the left. We're going to use asymmetry. So this is just a simple sci-fi cylinder. What I'm planning to do is actually uh, create more of a relaxed areas and then just use it just create very detailed parts of the model in tactical areas and create that look of inner mechanism. Okay. Let's just add more topology resolution, and this will be our region where we create the inner mechanism look. Okay, let's just try and make this straighter to actually so it reflects on the randomization. There we go. Take it out of smooth, click this to the center. This is the effect of the end set in the symmetry line of an object that has a mirror modifier. So I'm using square 100% even depth, just increasing the resolution to give me more for the randomization to give me more details. Playing around with the settings, using NC clear. We're going to reduce the panel amount and let the islands merge together to make it less busy. I'm probably going to layer another detail on top of this. Just here. Okay. Let's add more resolution to give us more, to give the random islands more faces to play with. There we go. So the symmetry line is broken. We can go to auxiliary and just increase the distance slowly to merge them. And this is the symmetry line of the y-axis. So just increase it some more. There we go. I think that's the yeah, that's the y-axis. So the layering workflow is mainly for concept art or for production. If you want to use it for something, use the randomization for something like games or that stuff. You can use merge panel. There's another workflow for that. So I'm just, the next videos, I'm just going to show you how to use this properly. So you're going to have more fun with the non-destructive workflow because you're not really going to control you have more freedom with the resolution of the object. Okay, something like that. And then the next layer will have more detail. We're going to increase the subdivision, something like that, and make the little heads kind of pop out and make those tiny details, or not little heads, tiny face islands. There we go. Probably use the panel mount and set NC clear to off to actually just remove the panel islands instead of merging them. Okay. Let's play around with the depth value. Probably set this to 0. Okay. Now let's just negative. Bring some of the islands down. There we go. Well, let's try and play around with the seed value. I think number 1 is okay. So let's also play around with the subdivision. I think this looks good. Now let's just get rid of those minor shading errors like that. Those are subdivision banding. And select this and go to extras, mesh, and smooth sharp. So just use the default. So it kind of just remove those small traces of the subdivision banding. And we can move on. Select our source mesh again. And the faces are still selected. Let's add a layer of random tubes, high offset. I always start with the high offset preset just to give me a base to start with, which makes it easier to view the tubes. And then I can just edit from here, bring it down, bring the offset down. So the offset is kind of like the height of the tubes. So in this case, we can make it look like they're kind of wires or something, not just tubes necessarily. So to avoid symmetry, we can disable the use mirror and just increase the number of the amount of pipes that can be possibly made, something like 150. We can increase the subdivision, soft cuts. So more faces means more pipes or tubes. Length 20. Let's try it 30. Yeah. Probably subdivision 0 or yeah, what 1. Disable fallback. This will result in somewhat of a lesser number of pipes, but can look cleaner in terms of generating results like this, where the pipe just turns abruptly after one segment. it will still develop it sometimes, like this one here, but generally you can avoid it using the use fallback, turning off the use fallback. Okay, seed value, still have it here. You just manually remove it after. Okay, let's move on. Seed value, let's check. Okay, I think we're good. With this one here, we can, since we're going the non-destructive route, we can just use the random panels and floater mesh inner. So this will create random panel cuts that will be separate from the mesh, and it's going to make it look like the mesh is part of the uh, random mesh is part of the source mesh by turning off some cycles visibility properties. Okay. Going to inset clear and just merge. There we get somewhat cleaner result. Probably use subdivision level 0. Nothing too fancy, just simple. Can actually make our own using panel cutter. If the randomization doesn't give you anything really good, you can just use panel cutter for this. I think this is good right here. Let's just try another seed value. Okay, 51. I'm gonna try this. Okay. Merge. Okay, now let's just so this is the result. This is non-destructive, and you can just delete this. Okay. I'm using select Control Shift F to select the islands. Okay, Control Shift F, F9 hotkey, and delete linked. So you can just delete the islands using this. There we go. So we're left with just this pattern here. Okay, moving on. Let's just manually model some details in. Random offset, extrude. Whoops. I think I used the panel cutter instead of the. So with panel cutter, we can create like, I think we can create something like this, which is also non-destructive. I actually forgot. Just selecting all this. Let me see. Final cut, floater set inner. Yeah, we can. We absolutely can. And let's just manage the. So I will be updating the slowly be updating the online documentation for these add-ons because of the rapid updates or development. I have not updated the uh, online documentation to match with the current state of the add-on, so I'm going to do that. And yeah, non-destructive. When you render this, the cut looks like it's a part of the mesh underneath. It's actually just an illusion, and in order to break the illusion, you have to really go in. and zoom in. So the way this works is the script turns off some cycles visibility. If you're using cycles, basically everything except the camera. If I turn this all on, you can see that you can clearly see that this is a separate object. But with this off, it doesn't contribute to the diffuse glossy shadow, and it looks like it's melded to the source mesh. Actually, we can just probably create some line here using panel cut and just match up the thickness of the other line. There we go. But of course, it's a separate separate object. Okay. Um, there you go. Inset and boundary edges only. A bunch of Final Cut is really powerful. So in the next update, I might have to remove the nodes because this is only usable for low poly, really low poly. It's not really usable for some really serious topology. So I'm just going to remove this. This is like panel cutter effect, but using geometry nodes. So yeah, I'm going to remove that, and I'm going to think of something else that will replace it. Okay, should we do a layer here as well? Probably not. Mhm. Ooh. So after the source mesh actually remains untouched, and we're just layering like separate objects on top of this, and everything is parented. The results from Pile Cutter and Run Flow is parented to the source mesh, so you can move the source mesh around, scale it, and the parented objects or the children will move along with the parent. Okay, let's just probably stop with this. So we have the end mechanism. Can we pull off a wire? Okay, cables, curve, and there's no wiggle. Okay, offset noise, normal offset. So normal offset is really uh, based on the normal picker. You can pick the normal face or the normal direction or the direction of the look direction of the viewport. So if you go to extras and normal picker, you can pick this, and it will of course be used to influence the direction of the cable. Or pick the look direction right here, click on the empty space, and it will tell you face normal not found using view direction instead. And when you add cables using not catenary but curve, it will follow that picked normal. Um, there's also other uses for this. So extras. pick normal data from, I think random animation also uses it, and then random scatter. If we scatter some objects here and auxiliary, toggle this off and track pick normal, it will look on the pick normal. Okay. So let's go back to the cables. Right. Curve. The problem is how do I turn it off? I can turn it off. Alright. Manual offset. There we go. Reduce the bevel or the depth or the thickness of the cable. So it doesn't really. So for some settings, the thickness is called bevel in Blender, and for some objects, the thickness is thickness, and for some objects, the thickness is like it has another term for it. I don't know. So I just follow what's the actual terminology used for it, so I didn't change it. So for the thickness of the curve, it's the bevel, so I didn't change it just to avoid further confusion. But if you're a long time Blender user, of course you will know the difference. But if you're pretty new to Blender, you will be confused. So bevel, and then we have width for another object, and then we have other term. I don't know. F9 and do not use mirror and increase the number of cables. Let's see. Okay. Oh, okay, so the symmetry. Okay, use mirror. There we go. Okay. I think we should reduce this to 50. But I like the basic look of those wires. So there's an offset. This is the noise. And there's the wiggle. Okay, you can reduce the frequency of the wiggle using the steps. Basically, this basically reduces the number of points in the body of the curve. So the wiggle has less points to work. So uh, so the wiggleness like becomes less busy or something like this. The only problem is asymmetry. We have asymmetry here and here. So we need to avoid that. So we need to use symmetry. Okay, that's reverse. We have symmetry here. We need to use asymmetry. But if we use the option for if we toggle this off, those two islands will connect. So that's just how the script works. But you can avoid that by extracting the faces. Okay, so random flow also has the extract face in the mesh, and you can extract the faces using this. Yeah, turn on X for the X-ray. So creative flow also has this, but creative flow results with a thickness. The faces has thickness. With random flow, the faces don't have thickness. This is merely to create proxy faces. You can press X for X-ray. So there's no thickness whatsoever. This just to create a proxy mesh where you can use randomization on, and then you can delete the uh, extract proxy mesh afterwards. So we can use it here. Extract faces, press X for the X-ray. You can press shift and then left click to get more, radially get more faces like that. Let's just get everything, make sure that nothing's missing. Okay. This also doesn't produce any symmetry. So extract faces from creative flow. You can of course set the symmetry in the second model operation, but with random flow, I think you can't do it. Yeah. So you have to really extract the faces from all the other sides. So with this one, we need to duplicate this object to the other side. So select our source mesh, cursor selected, and then select Alt click. So in order for you to select the extracted faces from all this layer of other objects, Alt and then right click, it will show you all the objects underneath the mouse cursor. So extract proxy is the name, and we're in object mode. Shift D to duplicate. Press that and set the pivot point to 3D cursor, and then you're going to set the or yeah, you can just probably use any viewport direction that you want. Shift D and then Control M for the interactive mirror with the duplicate selected, and then press the middle mouse button and then select your axis going this way in the Y axis. Okay, you can see that it positioned it there. There we go. So we have our duplicate here and our original here. So our duplicate will be named extract proxy 0.001 here. So we can generate cables separately using this balance and avoid symmetry. Okay. So selecting all the faces and random cables. Let's reduce this to 50. Okay, 150. What's happening? Oh, they connected to each other. How can I avoid that? Limited. Well, basically connected to each other. So yeah, just increase the offset. So never mind the other cables at the. It's not really designed for this kind of topology, but since we're just layering, we're only concerned with the ones that are actually showing up in the mesh. Catenary. Let's increase the thickness or the bevel. There we go. We can just actively delete some of the wires that doesn't make sense. So there's no wire here, so that's okay. Just need it to sparingly show up in the mesh. Okay, this one here. Okay, I think we're good. If you're bothered by this, you can just delete it. The way to delete it is start with the ones that are showing up. Select them using L, and then invert, and then X, delete the rest. So you don't select the ones that are hidden because there are too many. You select the ones that are actually showing up because there's less of them. Okay, we're going to turn this into a mesh, apply mesh, and then select everything and just let's set some like basic coloring using vertex color, island offset. Okay, just going to save this demo 001. Okay. And extras, shading, up in materials, select everything again, and I'm going to just use the R flow metal. There you go. And it didn't uh, get here. Let's just delete this one here. XV. So we apply this to make it a mesh. Select everything else again and just assign the material again. There we go. Going to change the HDRI. Okay, so this doesn't have, apply this as well, and then use the flow metal. Let's do the random vertex color again. Okay. Island, skip 2 islands. Okay. Let's go to the material. Change this with the vertex color that we made. Vertex color. If you don't have the attribute node listed here, you need to turn on the Gaffer add-on. Not the Gaffer add-on. The Node Wrangler add-on. It comes free with Blender. And then control the intensity of the vertex color using color ramp. If the vertex color has saturation, you can just use the overlay using this and set it to overlay. Connect the color, set the factor to 1, and you can control the intensity using color B for saturated colors. Since this is just black and white, gradations of black and white, you can just use the color ramp. Okay. If this is actually a unimesh, if we use the auto merge, we can play around with the vertex color, dirtying the vertex color, but it's solid mesh, so we don't have to actually do that. Okay, let's go to cavity mask and probably use peaks. Set this to less saturation. noise. We have the roughness. Yes, more noise. And then also the threshold. There we go. Yes. And here it's a little shiny. It's because probably because of this edge mask. So 0.001. Actually, we need to match it up with, if you're using the edge mask, you need to match it up with the radius of the bevel if you're using bevel as well. So 0.005, we need to match it up with the one here in the cavity mask. Control, edge mask, I mean, Control V. There we go. And stretches. We also need to probably reduce the strength of the bump. So if you're seeing a lot of noise in your render, check out the bump values. That's probably where it's um, coming from. I defaulted it to 0.2 so you can immediately see the result of the bumps and just like reduce it from there. Okay, so this is our model here with some parts showing like the inner mechanism result, the wires. We can layer another stuff here using random cells, and that will provide the lights. And we have to pick something that's a layer that's actually underneath some faces. Not this one. This one? How about this one? Oops. This one. Okay, that's the one that okay, this, probably this one. Okay, select everything. Oh, no, no, no. Just the top faces using pre-select Shift F. Okay, maybe we can include everything and just render this area. Random cells and image size 3. There we go. If you don't see any lights, it might be because of the margin. So just reduce the margin to 0. So for some size of the object, the margin might be too much. And you can see this. You can see like no light is appearing. So just set the margin to 0 and just increase it from there. So proxy pulse size, this is symmetrical. You can also turn off the mirror. So most of the random meshes, you can turn off the mirror effect, the effect of the mirror modifier to actually produce a symmetrical result. So I think this is good. So a good thing about this, if you're using the non-destructive process, is that versus the shader, you can actually just remove a face. If you don't want the lights positioned on that spot, you can just click the face and remove it. Whereas with a shader, you're stuck with it because you can touch it. You can probably select the face and create another material for it. That's the same as the material you're using with the emission, and then I'll knock off the emission from that material, but that's too much work. Okay, so I like the result of the lighting. It's not too much, and it also positions. It's also conveniently position themselves into the most tucked in places, which I like. This one I don't like, so we can just remove it. There we go. Okay, let's check some more. That still looks good. Okay, If you want to put lights on the edges here, they're actually separate. So you need to select everything and merge. And then you can select the edges, for example, and bevel, and then just put another material on this bevel edge. I'm not gonna do that. Okay, this one, we can use the same shader used by the random cells design. It's actually our cells emit. Okay, so this is the non-destructive layering workflow. In the next videos, I will show you the how to hopefully achieve the same effect using the destructive manner. Okay, I think we're good. We can write in some bogus, some random alien words using uh, random symbols. Random symbols. There you go. So this is asymmetrical. We're just going to remove the rest later on. Thickness. Okay. Smoothing. Repeat. Oh, in the next update, I'm going to probably introduce spacing, but it's not really a priority for now. Okay, this looks good. Apply it. Select this. Go to face mode. Invert. Delete the rest. So we're just left with this. All right. So if you don't like the emission, you can just replace it with another one. New. Okay, this also uses the floater mesh effect I showed you earlier by using the by toggling off some of the cycles reversibility. If we turn this on, uh, yeah, it still looks like it's part of the because it's too close to the mesh and it's like just primitive planes. But just toggle this off just in case. Okay, and we're going to combine this with or mix it with transparent shader, transparency shader, base DF. Control the mix shader using the quick dirt right here and play around with the threshold. There we go. Just to introduce some damage. There we go. So it's subtle. Okay, now it's time to play around with the. Are you guys using the track lights add-on? So it's another one of my personal add-ons, but I just included it in most. I just included it in the bundle so you can use it. I needed some lighting, simple lighting add-on to make like demo rendering much quicker for me. So this is the result. Let's try and frame this and okay, create make empty and focus. Let's create a floor plane using just a primitive plane. Cursor to world origin, then selection to cursor. Whoops. They set the pivot point back to median point. I'm going to use the cement texture that I found in Polyhaven. Cement textures. Cement. Asphalt. What's another word for cement? I can't find it. Concrete. Not this one. Concrete. Okay, this one. And just increase the size. Whoops, too much. Okay. And let's use our volume cube. But first, I'm going to set the volume max steps to 5.2. Higher values reduce render time. Blah blah blah. Lowers. Okay, you can just. I probably could just use 1.5 since I'm not using or 2. Since I'm not using any textures. If you're using textures, you want more fidelity and the detail. You can, of course, decrease the value to increase the detail being rendered. But since it's just basically uniform fog, I can just lower the settings. Okay. Mesh, make sure that it's in the center, the 3D cursor is in the center. Add volumetric cube. Um, Everything's okay. I'm not going to use this to set the setting. I'm going to use the material instead. Uh, Probably increase the uh, do we need to include the light in, yeah, let's just include the light. Okay, now um select the cube. So density is 0.1, anisotropy is, I think, the direction of the volume, and there's another setting you need to play around. I learned this in YouTube. Settings, if you're also not using texture, you can turn this on. So this assumes that the volume is just a single or same density all over. So this makes it easier for cycles to render much faster. Okay. And then we can go to, I'm just going to use the limited light paths, limited global illumination, and in volume, see, you can, the fog that gets thicker as you increase the volume samples. So uh, if you're just going for the look, you can actually just use like 0 or 1 for the volume. Because if you're using really high amounts of it, you need to actually render more samples for it. Okay. Let's go to 3D viewport and then make it solid here. Render it here and play around with the light using this lamp. Use follow up, use black body, overcast 500. 2000. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really used with volumes yet. That's why I created the add-on, the add-on VCube to actually train with it. 5,000. Okay, it's too much. So if we make the volume cube disappear, you can see that the atmosphere is gone and looks everything looks really clear and flat versus this. Even with just zero samples, you can see that everything just improved. With the atmosphere just improved overall. So I'm not a lighting guy, so if you want to have to watch a proper tutorial for lighting and rendering, you need to watch other artists for that because I'm not really good at this lighting stuff. Very minimal. Maybe we can reduce the strength. Yeah, just 0.25. Let's go to color management and set the look to punchy. Kind of gives you more contrast. Okay, samples. Whoops. Okay, let's go to this one. Create another window. Set this to the shader. Where's the other light? We need to create atmosphere, and we also need to. It's like creating. It's like light painting. You know. You know. You also need to like light up the strength of your model and not hide it. So with this part here, it's I think it's kind of okay. That's in the shadows. There's not a lot of detail in there anyway. Okay, think we can test the render with that. But um, my composting nodes are actually not really good for that. It's on another file. But if you're new to Blender, you can actually copy it. You can go to that file. For example, this one here. This is the thumbnail for the VQ. Control A to select everything. Control C. And I find that you need to paste it again in order to, because if you don't paste it, it will say that the clipboard is empty. So you paste it and then go back to the file from before. And then let's just remove this and Control V to select the, okay, I'm going to turn on emission first because it has emission. There we go. And we can test render. Let's just go to the samples, 64 samples. So you can see the render window, but okay. Um, doesn't look so awesome. We need more render. Set this to offset. There we go. There's a blue tint everywhere. I wonder where it's coming from. Oh, the slope. Uh, Offset power and or select offset power and slope. What is this? Is this the light? Yeah, it's the light. And highlights threshold point. Just strength. Okay. This needs to be glare or highlights. Glare. Okay, so we need more samples to actually make this or render this more beautifully. Okay, let's just try some volume zero samples of zero for the volume. You can see that the halo for the light is still there. Not really the halo, like kind of like uh, the cone. This is what everyone like kind of like doing with volume, creating this light beams. Where's that light? Okay, let's re-render this. I'm going to use something like 256 samples. You won't see the render, but you can see the percentage. So just wait for it. You can see the render window because OBS only records the main window. I don't know what's up with that. You need to use the actual window capture to actually capture all the windows. Okay, it's at 65%. Oh, snap. I. This is not it. I rendered the animation. I wonder where the. I think it's in the temp folder. I need to find that out. Find out where it went and delete those files. Okay, just the offset. Don't worry about the too much contrast. Set this to 0, I think, or 0.05. Go. And the emit. Is the emit really working? Yeah, it's working. Fog glow or just bloom. Okay, so yeah. So with some more work, I think this will turn out really great. If you have a great model, you need to actually have a really great like texture and lighting to really make it shine. If you fail on the other aspects, then however like great your model is, it will of course look really bad. The what am I thinking? Oh, the um the emission. I'm going to make it stronger and re-render. Okay, the since we're settled with the setting of the volumetric cube, let's not be able to select it. So toggle the selection. So when you click, you can select the cube, volumetric cube, but you can select, and also you can select the objects like inside of it, much easier. Let's go to shader and use something like 20. Okay, now let's re-render. Let's go to the composting window and re-render this. So I urge you to watch the long form videos. You only need to watch it once and uh, you would have learned the content of that video. You don't need to watch it again. Okay, so that is our sci-fi cylinder with mostly relaxed areas and um, um, certain areas with a lot of detail. Okay, so that's what you can do. You can plan the relaxed areas and then also the detailed areas before like going in. And the important, probably the most important thing is the base mesh. You need to take your time with the base mesh before actually going in with the detail. The detail is just uh, like fancy shapes inside the like the primary shape of the source mesh, but the most important thing is the base mesh itself, the source mesh, the main object you are putting greebles on or random details. That's the most important thing because that's the overall shape that the eye sees first before the actual detail. So if like the whole profile of the shape kind of looks interesting or even familiar, in this case this looks familiar. Every 3D modeler has actually like seen like sci-fi canisters, so their brain is kind of wired to that shape, and then they actually the eye sees the details next. Okay, so yeah, that's with the that's the demo. It's really quite easy. You just need to practice and use it over and over again and to familiarize with it. I'm not gonna lie, the learning curve is kind of uh, somewhat high, but since the add-on is lifetime support, you can learn Blender and you can also learn the add-ons. Meanwhile, once you purchased it, you have free updates for the rest of your uh, life. Okay, yeah. So if you're interested with these tools, if you haven't got it yet, check out the links in the description of the video. For those who have purchased it already, thank you for your continued support and keep watching these videos to learn some more tricks. Native Blender tricks and also tricks with the add-ons. Okay. Again, thank you for watching and see you on the next one. Have a nice day.